Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Ground Game with your Cabarrus County Republican Party. As always, I am Abdul Ali. Thanks to my man G to the Mills behind the camera. And on behalf of your entire Cabarrus County Republican Party Executive Committee, we want to thank you so much over these last few weeks for sharing this content, viewing this content. It's been an awesome opportunity to come and greet you guys every week and host some of our elected officials and members of the party here. So again, thank you so much, everybody, for supporting Ground Game, and maybe this is something we'll keep going after the election. Today we are going to be joined by who I like to call the number cruncher extraordinaire, your Cabarrus County Republican Party Secretary, Parish Moffitt. So stay tuned. We will be right back here on Ground Game.
So our day begins with taking care of Charlotte and balancing that out with what our other children need as well. Charlotte needs full assistance through the day, including lots of medications, and she loves spending time with her siblings, but it's a lot to handle.
Even with the caregiver, we needed extra help, especially when Charlotte's disease progressed.
That is until Tom Tillis stepped in. He got us the health care that we needed so that we can make sure that Charlotte stays in the best health possible. Tom Tillis takes healthcare seriously.
When we had nowhere else to turn, Tom Tillis was there for us and really helped us cut through the red tape.
Thank you, Tom Tillis, for fighting for our Charlotte.
Welcome back to Ground Game, ladies and gentlemen. As promised, we are here with the number cruncher extraordinaire.
A journey through the wonderland of mathematics.
Mathematics? That's for all kids.
Eggheads? Now hold on, Donald.
AKA your Cabarrus County Republican Party Secretary, Parish Moffitt, is in the building with us for Ground Game. Welcome to Ground Game, Parish.
Thanks for having me. Number Cruncher, that's a new name, right?
Number cruncher extraordinaire.
Extraordinaire. We left that part off.
Left that part off, but look. Guys, we've got some good news. We've got Parish here. We've got some numbers to talk about. First thing I want to get into, though, is this whole idea of Sunday voting, because the Democrats asked for it, and they got it.
They got it.
Got what you asked for.
However,
there's
a but. There's always a but in everything, right? Okay, so here's the scoop. They wanted Sunday voting bad. They wanted it during the primary. They agreed not to do it. We convinced them there's just not going to be enough voters. It really wasn't worth their time. They really wanted it here for the general election, and they got it. And why did they get it? We talked about this earlier. So here's what happens. When you talk about the number of days for early voting, and we're talking about one-stop early voting here. So when you talk about the number of days, the times, the hours, the locations, all that other stuff, it has to be a unanimous agreement with our local board of elections, where our local board of elections is 3 Democrats and 2 Republicans. And that's because we have a Democrat governor. When there's not unanimous, it gets kicked to the State Board of Elections. The State Board of Elections also is Democrat-controlled because we have a Democrat governor. So they agreed we're going to have Sunday voting. Once again, we said there's a but, right? So here's the but. We beat them in Sunday voting, and I am ecstatic about it. I can't tell you how happy I am. I voted on Sunday as well, just to help make sure that those numbers worked out for us. So here's the numbers. The first Sunday, they beat us that first Sunday, 857 to 710. Now these numbers are Cabarrus County only numbers that I'm talking about today, okay? But this last Sunday, the 25th, we beat them almost by double, 783 to 496.
Wow.
That's a pretty big margin that we beat them by.
That's huge.
And in total, we beat them by 140 votes total on Sunday voting. They wanted it, they got it, we beat them. Now that's assuming that everybody who is a Republican is voting Republican, straight Republican, or pretty close to it.
Right.
I mean, they might deviate 1 or 2 here and there. I mean, that happens. But that's also assuming that every D is voting straight Democrat.
Which we know ain't happening.
Which we know ain't happening as well. I mean, we just talked to a guy a little while ago here in the office. He's a registered Democrat, but he votes Republican. So we know that happens. And so I think we're doing fairly well.
Gotcha. So one of the things we talked about on this show before in the past is how King Cooper has tried to swing things towards the Democrats via Board of Elections at the state and then, appointing people at the local level. How much impact does that have, this Board of Elections locally? How important is that, in relation to our ability to vote and make sure we have fair elections?
Oh, it's tremendously important because that Board of Elections they're creating policy for the mail-in ballots. They're reviewing every mail-in ballot that comes in, and they're the ones who are creating this policy on things like, if you remember a couple of weeks ago, we were dealing with this whole issue of, do we allow ballots to be cured or not to be cured if they're missing a witness signature? And that local Board of Elections is at this point taking 3-2 votes on saying we're going to utilize the methodology that King Cooper wants us to use that analogy of King Cooper.
Right.
And so we do have some cured ballots here in Cabarrus County that were mailed out and were cured. Now, I don't have a problem if somebody, really hosed something up and we need to send them another ballot, something like that.
Sure.
But they were wanting people to be able to cure ballots simply with an affidavit. And now I don't know if these cured ballots are affidavit cured or if they were truly cured with getting a witness signature. And basically the affidavit was simply saying, I am who I say I am. Well, if you lied the first time, aren't you going to lie the second time on the affidavit? I mean, I think the felony, I don't know this off, for a fact, but I would think that the felony for forging a ballot is going to be just as much of a felony for forging an affidavit.
Which makes sense, and I think this is another reason why we need voter ID in North Carolina, which is why we need Dan Forrest and Mark Robinson. That plug for those guys there. So we're going to talk a little bit more about numbers here.
These are the doors of the future, and the key is
mathematics.
And I think one of the important things is we can't get comfortable, as Parish is going to give us some wonderful news here. We had a great analogy we were talking about before this. I think it was the Atlanta Falcons were up 28-3 at halftime.
They were. That Super Bowl 2016 season, January of 2017, Atlanta was up 28-3 going into the halftime. And what did they do the second half? New England outscored them, and Atlanta didn't score another goal that entire second half. And they got beat. I want to say with 38-36-3, something like that was the final score. I don't remember off the top of my head. But we're up at this point. When I simply look at the number of folks that have showed up to early voting here in Cabarrus County, and I'm only looking at Cabarrus County.
Right.
I don't have enough time to look at the whole state. I'm sorry, folks, but I don't. But when I look at Cabarrus County and I look at our local House districts, we're up and we're doing well. We're up by almost 4,000 votes as of Sunday.
Wow.
And that's just phenomenal. I'm ecstatic. I've been doing this for 6 or 8 years now, and when I look at all these numbers, I've never seen the Republicans show up in the numbers that we're showing up in right now.
I think one of the cool things about this is we look at the makeup and the need for us to continue to have strong conservatives in the state house. So that's boding well for Dr. Baker, Larry, and Paul Newton, no?
Absolutely. So what's going to be happening, we've all had our census. The census closed a couple of weeks ago, I think it was. And I hope everyone took care of their census because it's vitally important. That census data is all going to be going into the system now. And they're going to be determining how many representatives we have, how many, it gets all the way down to the census block level, which a census block could be as few as 5 houses. It could be as large as 500 houses or 500 people inside of a small block. But we get all the way down into the census block level and we start recarving up districts for the state house, the state senate, and the U.S. House is all controlled by that census data that is all going into the system at this point. So, and in North Carolina, our legislature controls redistricting. The Democrats, about a year and a half ago, were really big on wanting to create a nonpartisan redistricting commission. There is no such thing.
Right.
So it just becomes a matter of creating another commission that's going to be handling this redistricting. And you notice they got really quiet about that about a year ago, right?
Right.
You know why they got really quiet about that?
Why is that? Tell the folks.
That's because they thought they were going to win this election. So they shut their mouth. They didn't want to have anything to do with it anymore because they thought they were going to win. And what did that mean? They were going to do the same thing. They were going to go out there and gerrymander districts and be able to create the districts that they wanted so that they could win forever. What they want to do is they want to pizza slice everything. So you would have a district that would start in downtown Charlotte and basically be a wedge that would come out to Cabarrus County and capture us here in Cabarrus County and dilute our Republican votes in with those Democrat votes from down in Mecklenburg County. That's why it's important that we get Dr. Baker, Brother Larry, and Senator Newton back on the legislature.
Well, one of the things and we've had all of those folks on Ground Game, and go back and check those episodes if you haven't done so. It's really cool, a lot of information. Well, one of the things we talked about with all three of them is the need to ensure that we are providing, because we had a rainy day fund to deal with this COVID stuff. Unlike a lot of other states, we didn't have to borrow money to get through, the COVID situation. So I think it's vitally important for you folks not only to continue to show up to vote early, but continue to get your friends to come out and support these three candidates, Dr. Baker, Larry Pittman, and our good friends Paul Newton. We're going to be right back on Ground Game with Parish Moffitt right after this.
Larry Pittman has worked diligently in Raleigh to lower taxes and eliminate regulations that hurt small businesses. He's vigorously opposed Governor Cooper's closure of churches, businesses, and schools that have caused so many people to lose their jobs. Because of his support of small businesses, Representative Pittman is endorsed by the National Federation of Independent Businesses. Please vote for Larry Pittman to support a strong North Carolina economy. Paid for by Committee to Elect Larry Pittman.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back on Ground Game with our illustrious number cruncher extraordinaire.
Well, we can't all be mathematically perfect.
Oh, yeah?
AKA the Cabarrus County Republican Party Secretary Parish Moffitt. And we were just talking off air a little bit about turnout. And you had a very encouraging number there that I think the folks would do some good to hear.
So far, 38.7, and this is as of this last Sunday. Cabarrus County only, once again, 38.7% of the voters have already come out and voted. That's a pretty big number.
Right.
We've all seen this across the state, the fact that we're showing up in record numbers already this year. I saw a tweet a few minutes ago that we're close to 100% in most of the used D's and R's. Ours are still a little bit under that, but we're pretty close to that 100%. So, but we still need to get everybody out. I'm really looking for about an 80% voter turnout for this election, because there's just so much. There's anger, there's anxiety, there's people are excited. People are excited. I think that's the better term to use. People are really excited about this election. And so that's why I think we're going to see these huge turnout numbers that we haven't seen in a long time.
So one thing you pointed out to me was that normally that last Saturday of early voting, we kind of get our butts handed to us a little bit there. So this particular situation, because we need Roy Cooper out of there, because we need to keep Trump in there, we really need our Republican folks to show up this Saturday. So make sure you go to the polls tomorrow, get yourself out there. Now, I know you said we weren't going to get into it because it's a little wonky and it's a little heavy, difficult to understand, but I just find it interesting, and I think the folks at home will find it interesting. 112% of the unaffiliated voters, and what do you got there? 95% and 97%. So it's 95% Republican, 97% of Democrats who voted early last election have already voted.
Have already voted.
Okay, we're not going to get any deeper into that number. But what that says is that there's a lot of enthusiasm on both sides about this election.
Absolutely. We were hearing, I was hearing in the news reports on that first day of early voting, people wanted to come out because they were afraid they were going to get sick or something like that. There was still plenty of time to order an absentee ballot even at that point in time. So,
right.
But I think it was just, a lot of people were they were excited to go vote. They wanted to get out there and go vote. Now, granted, that first initial excitement was Democrat. It
Sure.
was the Democrats who were showing up that first couple of days. But since then, the Republicans have come out in strong here in Cabarrus County, and I'm very happy about this. We were talking about Saturday voting. So I did the numbers, because, number cruncher extraordinaire, you said, right?
There you go.
So the 2 Saturdays so far, we are up 86 votes. That's just a mere 86 votes. But we are up on Saturday early voting this year so far. Now, I mentioned that we generally don't do so well that last Saturday. It's generally pretty bad for our team, the red team. So here's my plea for everybody tomorrow. Get your friends, get your family, get your wife. Your dog can't vote, I'm sorry, so you can't take your dog. But get everybody that you can to come out and vote tomorrow, because I would love for us to win this Saturday's early voting and win both weekend days from the Democrats this year. That would be great.
I can't even say anything else. I think you put a nice little bow on it. Ladies and gentlemen, make sure that you are going to cabarrus.gop, sign up for the newsletter. Just because the election's over on November 3rd doesn't mean we still don't have things going on in here in the county that you need to be aware of. Any last tidbits that you need to get to the folks out? Anything we missed that you think they need to know?
Even if the polls are busy, please stay in line. I mean, that's the big one. So if you show, you don't make it on set, you don't make it tomorrow, you don't make it for early voting. So, okay, so you're going to go on election day. And there's a lot of Republican folks, particularly Republicans, that highly believe that they only vote on election day. And that's fine. I mean, that's everybody's prerogative. If you're in line, they will let you vote. Even if you get there, as long as you're there by 7:30 when the polls close, and you get in line, they will let you vote. Even if it takes you 2 more hours to get inside to actually cast your ballot, they will let you vote. What they will do is they'll send a Board of Elections member out that will stand with you, and they will walk with you as you walk all the way into that point, so that way they don't let anybody else get behind you. That's how they keep track of, it's almost back when they put the sticker, the sheet of paper on your bag and said, "Kick me," kind of thing.
Yeah.
Back from back.
So you're the last man
You're the last
standing.
man standing.
Gotcha.
They give you a piece of paper that you hold that says, "I'm the last person," and the Board of Elections person waits with you. But stay in line, stand in line. This election is vitally important. We talked about it for House races, court races, you name it, county commission races. This race is important. And we've got to get our team on there, because with redistricting coming, with all this stuff coming down the line, we've got to be there.
You heard it from number cruncher extraordinaire here first. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Abdul Ali. This is Parish Moffitt. You're watching Ground Game.
I'm Dale Falwell, your state treasurer and keeper of the public purse. 4 years ago, I promised to protect your money, preserve the state's AAA bond rating, and cut Wall Street fees. I'm pleased to report we have successfully managed the state's pension fund through difficult times, preserved the state's AAA bond rating, and cut over $350 million in Wall Street fees. This is why I'm supported by the state employees, the firefighters and paramedics, and Highway Patrol Associations of North Carolina. Vote Dale Falwell for state treasurer.
Paid for by Falwell Committee.
Welcome back to Ground Game, ladies and gentlemen. Listen, you heard it here from our secretary and all along as we've been recording these shows, how important it is for you to get out and vote. Tomorrow is the last Saturday of early voting. Make sure your voice is heard by getting out to the polls. As Parish said, the lines may be long, but if you are in line on time, you will be allowed to vote. This is our last episode of Ground Game before the election day. So remember to get out on Tuesday, November 3rd. If you do not make it on Saturday to vote, it is important that we get out, support President Trump, support Dan Forest, support Mark Robinson, and really support our conservative judges. I want to thank everybody that's come on the Ground Game. I can't thank you all enough. And I know I'm speaking for my man G to the Mills behind the camera when we say we really appreciate all the likes, all the comments, all the shares that we've been getting. It's been an honor and a privilege to host Ground Game. So, not forever, but for now, thank you so much for checking out Ground Game. We'll be back.